according to the Federal Revenue Service, according to his income statement of 2 million, and the other 60 million, 62 million. Why didn't he declare it? He could have even gotten some money back, which is money laundering and paying bribes. It has a pig's ear, a pig's snout, and a pig's tail. It's the whole feijoada. What does that amount to, Andrea Gonçalves? Money laundering, paying bribes, criminal organization, using the money from the biggest banking fraud in Brazil, maybe even in the world, which exceeds 50 billion reais, where they defaulted. In the public bank, BRB, and several public sector pension funds at the municipal and state levels, and they defaulted on thousands of people and consumers. Public money. So we have to talk about it, right? Because, Flávio Bolsonaro used to say he didn't even know Daniel Vorcaro. And he said in his speech, "I'll be with you, my brother, no matter what happens." He didn't even know the guy, right? So he lied, Andrea Gonçalves. He lied from the beginning. And it's interesting that yesterday the Intercept was very clever. Yesterday, Flávio Bolsonaro went to the federal Supreme Court before the bombshell broke. Before everything blew up yesterday, Flávio Bolsonaro went to the federal Supreme Court to talk to the president of the federal Supreme Court, Edson Fachin. So he went there, went in, talked and all. Then when he left, the bomb hadn't exploded yet. There was a group from Intercept there. He said he gave an interview after meeting with Edson Fachin to discuss some issues, likely about sentencing guidelines. The sentencing guidelines bill that's suspended, the sentencing guidelines law that's suspended because it's going to have a constitutionality review, right? Then he left, started giving an interview there, and a reporter, a journalist from The Intercept, dropped the bomb. And he said, "Flávio, what about the money? The money from Daniel Volcaro for your father's movie." Then he said, "No, that's not true. Where did you get that from? That doesn't exist." Then right after, he got in the car and left. And right after the bomb went off. Then after the bomb went off, I showed it to you here yesterday, and we were saying, where is Flávio Bolsonaro? He needs to speak up. Then Flávio Bolsonaro, after a few hours, he finally spoke up and made a video. I'll show you all of this in a bit. He made a video and saying, "So what?" Earlier, at the door of the Supreme Federal Court, he said it was a lie from Intercept, that there was nothing like that. Then later, an hour and a half later, he said, "No, so what? I asked Daniel Volcaro for money for my father's movie. That's all I did. I didn't do anything else, guys." He contradicts himself and gets caught in a lie. Let's watch this video here. It's revealing. Pay attention here, because why do I make a point of explaining everything in detail? To debunk Bolsonaro supporters. Because Bolsonaro supporters who say that a good criminal is a dead criminal, guns, beatings, and bombs are trying to find excuses and fake news to cover up for Flávio Bolsonaro. But I decided to say something here to you, whether you're on the right, the left, or the center, there's no way to cover this up. That's why I like to explain everything in detail, so we can refute all their arguments. Flávio Bolsonaro himself contradicted himself, and he even lied and later admitted that he lied. An hour before the scandal broke, he told The Intercept in an interview that it was a lie, that there was nothing like that, and he even let out a laugh that was actually out of desperation. Why? Because he realized he had been found out. Then an hour later, he said, "No, I really did ask, but it was just for my father's movie," and so on and so forth. Let's watch this video here because it's very revealing. And it reveals nothing but Flávio Bolsonaro's blatant lie. Notice here, pay attention what he said before and what he said after. Turn up the volume because the sound in the first part is a bit low. Turn up the volume and let's listen.
"Senator, why was your father's movie funded by Volcaro?"
That's a lie. It's not about that.
"It's just that we're doing a report that shows a message from you asking Volcaro for money. Good job."
Activist.
I met Daniel Vorcaro in December 2024. The Bolsonaro government was already over. There was absolutely no accusation against him. What happened is that over time, he simply stopped making the installment payments under the contract. Yes, there was a contract, and by not paying those installments, there was a high chance that the film wouldn't even be released, that the film wouldn't even be completed. Because of that, we even looked for other investors to finish this film.
So notice that he first said it was a lie. The Intercept journalist, before the bombshell broke, went there and said, that's a lie. That's just something an activist would say. Then later, to justify himself, he makes a video saying that there was even a contract. There was even a contract in which Daniel Vorcaro was paying in 24 installments. Intercept found this out. Over 134 million reais for the film. And now the film's production company comes out and says they didn't receive any money from Daniel Vorcaro, and Flavio is caught in a lie. Let's play the audio for anyone who hasn't heard it.
Even though you gave us permission, Daniel, to press you for the money, I feel awkward about having to keep asking you, okay? But anyway, it's because we're at a very decisive moment here with the film.
Senator, why was your father's film funded by Vorcaro?
That's not true. I've already studied this.
It's just that we're doing a report that shows a message from you asking Vorcaro for money.
I met Daniel Vorcaro in December 2024. The Bolsonaro government was already over, and there were absolutely no accusations against him. What happened is that over time, he simply stopped honoring the payments in the contract. Yes, there was a contract that if he didn't pay those installments, there was a high chance the film wouldn't even be released, the film wouldn't even be completed. Because of that, we even looked for other investors to finish this film.
So he himself was caught in a lie. 2 hours earlier, he was questioned by The Intercept, and he said it was a lie that Vorcaro didn't finance Bolsonaro's film. Then, after the scandal broke 2 hours later, he said that actually he did ask for the money because there was even a contract. And he asked for the money because there was a contract that Daniel Vorcaro was going to fund the film. He himself was caught in a lie, guys. There's no way to believe a guy like that. There's no way. Let's move on. Look at this. Dark Horse Production Company denies receiving money from Vorcaro. The statement from the production company contradicts the version given by the PL presidential pre-candidate himself, Senator Flávio Bolsonaro. In a statement, Flavio admitted to having spoken with Daniel Vorcaro, but said he was seeking private sponsorship for a privately funded film about his father's story. And I reiterate, one of the producers of this film is the actor Mario Frias, who is currently a federal deputy for the PL party. And he said that Flávio Bolsonaro is lying. Oops, hold on, Andrea Gonçalves. He's from the PL, he's a Bolsonaro supporter. He's one of the producers of the movie. And she said that Flavio is lying because the production company never received money from Daniel Vorcaro. Shall we take a look here? Oh boy, things are heating up. The federal Congressman Mario Frias from the PL party of São Paulo, who is also the executive producer of the movie Dark Horse, stated on social media that the production company did not use money from the owner of Banco Master, Daniel Vorcaro, to finance the story about former President Jair Bolsonaro. The federal deputy also emphasized that Flavio was not involved with the production of the movie. I'll repeat. The pro-Bolsonaro federal deputy from the PL also emphasized that Flavio was not involved with the production of the movie. His role was limited to granting the family's image rights and naturally to the weight that his last name adds. When it comes to attracting investors interested in financing a project of this scale, which is legitimate, expected, and in itself is nothing out of the ordinary. In summary, according to what one of the film's producers said, the Bolsonarist Congressman Flávio Bolsonaro took advantage of the film to get money from Daniel Vorcaro. Because if Daniel Vorcaro gave money to the film's production and the film's production officially declared that they didn't receive a single cent from Daniel Vorcaro, and Flávio Bolsonaro, the senator, was demanding money from Daniel Vorcaro. Who received the money from Daniel Vorcaro? Apparently, either Flávio Bolsonaro was scamming Daniel Vorcaro, or they use this kind of language to try to fool the federal police so that the payment of bribes and money laundering for Flávio Bolsonaro wouldn't be caught. Because Flávio Bolsonaro didn't ask. When you ask for an incentive, when you ask for sponsorship, you ask. You don't demand it. And Flávio Bolsonaro said in the audio, look, I'm demanding this from you because you gave me this freedom. I'm demanding this money and such and such. He didn't ask, he demanded. If he demanded it, it's because he had that power. Because he must have done something to have the power to demand something from someone. If you demand something from someone, it's because you have the power to do so. You did something for that person. Either you sold them something or you provided a service for them. Then you can charge that person money, right? So what did Flávio do to have the power to demand money from Vorcaro? To me, that's money laundering and paying bribes. Period. And what do you think it is? Put it in the chat. For me, it's money laundering and paying bribes. Now, this revelation from the film's production company, it could be that the producer, that Mario Frias, might be lying too. Because according to the evidence from Intercept Brazil, part of the money did go to the movie, yes. Well, Andrea Gonçalves, so why is Mario Frias saying this if he could even make things worse for Flávio Bolsonaro? I don't understand then. Why would Mario Frias get the code? Why would Mario Frias say that the production company didn't receive any money from Daniel Vorcaro if they did? And with this statement, he could end up sinking Flávio Bolsonaro for good. It doesn't make sense, Andrea, does it? They already know that Flávio Bolsonaro is in trouble. My beautiful people, this is only the start. Intercept Brazil will drop the bombs little by little. Don't think this is over. No. It's just a little bit of what they must have in their hands. And they're going to release it little by little like this. Every week, every 2 weeks, they're going to drop a bomb. People won't forget who Flávio Bolsonaro is and this criminal organization of the Bolsonaro family who do anything for money. So what is Mario Frias trying to do? It could be that too. Trying to save the movie. What do you mean, Andrea? Trying to save the movie? Yes. Because this movie is campaign propaganda. Get the code now. Get the code. I don't see anyone talking about this. This movie is the Bolsonaro family's campaign propaganda. Portraying Bolsonaro as poor, helpless, broken, persecuted, a victim? No. It's campaign propaganda for the far right and the right, okay? When was this movie going to be released, Andrea Gonçalves? Before the election. Institutionalized political propaganda. So what are they trying to do now? Save the movie. Also because it's going to make money too, right? And it's electoral propaganda. This is going to be a legal battle you can't even imagine. Bolsonarism brings such exotic and absurd things that the courts have to deal with situations they've never had to face before. This one about the movie will be one of them. Corruption money, money from money laundering, money from a criminal organization funded this movie, which is electoral propaganda for the Bolsonaro family in an election year. Is that allowed? I'm asking you. Is it allowed or not, Andrea Gonçalves? The court will decide. Because you can be sure More evidence will come out, more bombshells about this whole situation, and soon political parties will file lawsuits with the TSE and the federal Supreme Court to ban the screening of this film, at least before the election. It can be shown after the election. Right, Andrea? Yes. And it's going to be a huge legal battle. So what Mario Frias is also trying to do, in my opinion, based on what he said, which basically just dealt Flávio Bolsonaro a huge blow, is to say that they didn't receive the money. The film's production company didn't receive Daniel Volcaro's money. Someone else got it. So it must be Flávio. But why did he say that, Andrea? To try to save the film. And the money isn't what the film will generate because of that, but the film is an electoral advertisement funded with dirty money. Can that happen before the election? That's what Mario Frias, in my view, is also trying to do. Will save the... And in my view, if all of this that I'm saying is proven and confirmed, the court might even allow the release of this movie. Can it, Andre? Yes, it can. In Brazil. After the election, not before. Because it will have the power to try to influence people to vote for Bolsonaro. If Flávio isn't in jail by then, that is, because there's that situation too. For example, today he was arrested. Daniel Volcaro's father. And he was removed from his positions. A female police chief and a federal police officer. A female federal police chief and a federal police officer. Why were these people removed? Thank you. Right after this leaks, could the female police chief and the officer be behind this leak? Doesn't the federal police already know everything we're saying, everything that was revealed by The Intercept? Why do I say that? Because everything is confidential within the federal police. And why is it under secrecy, Andrea Gonçalves? Because the police investigation is confidential. It's there in the Code of Criminal Procedure. Police investigations are confidential. And I'm going to ask you again, could it be that the federal police already knew all of this and already had all this evidence? They're investigating, but we don't know the details because it's confidential. Could it be that Andre Mendonça himself already knew about all of this? You might wonder why Andre Mendonça didn't order Flávio Bolsonaro's arrest. Because they're looking for more evidence. You say this to me, Andrea Gonçalves. Do you think the federal police already knows all about this and that it's being investigated and that The Intercept managed to get access to this situation? I do. I believe the federal police already knows all this and more. The question is, what did The Intercept manage to get? Because I believe they have more evidence, more audio recordings, more situations, and that they will release them gradually. They didn't release everything. I believe the federal police are investigating. I don't think it's a coincidence. Senator Círio Nogueira was previously targeted in an operation. Senator Círio Nogueira, look, is very close to Flávio Bolsonaro. Senator Círio Nogueira, guys, was the minister closest to a president there could be. Círio Nogueira was Bolsonaro's chief of staff. The president's office is here, and the chief of staff's office is right upstairs. And there's a direct connection by stairs and elevator between one office and the other. A president doesn't do anything without first talking to the chief of staff and vice versa. And Círio Nogueira was Bolsonaro's chief of staff. And for me, this money that Daniel Volcaro was paying, that Flávio was collecting, was a bribe payment for the Bolsonaro family, where Banco Master benefited enormously during the Bolsonaro administration. whether by the central bank under Campos Neto, which allowed the bank to continue operating and commit fraud, or by the Ministry of Social Security under Onyx Lorenzoni from Bolsonaro's administration, which authorized Banco Master to make deductions from retirees and pensioners. And Banco Master also defrauded thousands of retirees and pensioners, charging them even though they had never requested a loan as part of the INSS fraud. This is a hefty bribe payment. Wow, it's money laundering from Daniel Volcario to the Bolsonaro family, and then not without reason. Fabiano Zettel, the financial agent. Daniel Vorcaro's financial agent, who is also under arrest, donated 3 million reais to the political campaign. To Bolsonaro. He donated directly to Bolsonaro's campaign account. 3 million reais, the biggest donor to Bolsonaro's campaign. That was the declared money. Imagine what wasn't declared. Isn't it interesting they're fighting each other? They're fighting among the right wing itself. The far right is fighting. Romeo Zema, I'll show you the video, went on social media and said it's unforgivable. Flávio Bolsonaro asking Daniel Vorcaro for money. So guess what he did? Carlos Central. Wait, Carlos? The son? He donated. He talked about Zima. Oh, okay. So what happened? Zima went and talked about Flávio Bolsonaro, saying that it's unforgivable for Flávio to ask for money. So what happened? Eduardo Bolsonaro made a post and said that Zima received 1 million from Daniel. God. Oh my God, not a single one is innocent. He went hard on Zima, saying that Zima was attacking Flávio, even though Zima received 1 million reais from Daniel Vorcaro. In his election, just the same, Bolsonaro received 3 million reais. So like they're fighting among themselves, because what happened? Flávio Bolsonaro, and frankly, he deserves it. Flávio Bolsonaro is finished. He's finished, and so is any chance. The right and far right have no chance of winning now. As I said, this is just the beginning. It's over. And when he imposed himself as the candidate for everyone, for the right, for the far right, and so on, he shut down any chance for other candidates to emerge, who didn't have so much baggage and wasn't as dirty as Flávio Bolsonaro. What does that mean, Andrea? Lula, 4-time winner in the first round. Ha ha ha! Oh my God, that's why the right wing is going to act all hurt now. Oh, I'm hurt. Oh, Flavio, who didn't know? Yeah. That Flávio Bolsonaro is the most corrupt son in the Bolsonaro family. Everybody knew. The problem is that the scummy right covers up for the far right because they don't have the courage to take a stand. And so it turns out that the victim of the far right isn't the left. It's the right itself. And I told you this and I'll repeat it. The far right, you'll remember that I say this all the time. As soon as Flávio ran as a candidate, I told you the far right is not a problem for the left. The far right is a problem for the right that covers for them. The far right, if anything, is actually the solution for the left. Do you remember that I've told you this several times? Well, here's the context for that statement. The far right is destroying the right wing in Brazil. And the far right will hand Lula a first-round victory because they are corrupt criminals. Bandidos. And everything will come to light. Do you know what everything is? I've already told you that Flávio Bolsonaro, I've told you this once and I'll say it again, he will wish he had never gotten into this fight for the presidency of the Republic. He will wish, oh my God, why didn't I just keep quiet? He wouldn't have run for the Senate. He would have been reelected senator, 8 years living off the Republic. Since I've already done that for 24 years, why didn't I just stay there? My handsome and my beautiful. A majoritarian election for the presidency. If you have something to hide, I'm referring to whoever is in first or second place, not those in the back. People don't really pay attention to them. But for those at the top, his or her life is devastated. If you have anything to hide, it will all come to light. And what does Flávio Bolsonaro have the most of? Things to hide. And plenty of skeletons in the closet. And I've always said, and I'll repeat it, everything will come to light. And he's going to wish he hadn't gotten into this fight. And if you pay attention to what I'm telling you, he will give up. He has too much to hide. And I told you this here too. Oh, guys, how interesting. At the moment he registers his candidacy, I already told you this here. At the moment he registers his candidacy, he will run for federal deputy or senator. He won't run for president. I've already told you this here. And now it's the little details of this situation that's happening. And I'll repeat, it's just the beginning. What I'm going to do, President. Let me tell you something. There are still things to be revealed about Flávio in this Vorcaro matter, but also over there in Rio de Janeiro. Notably with acts of corruption, bribery, and money laundering involving hospitals in Rio de Janeiro. When Flávio Bolsonaro was responsible for the federal hospitals in Rio de Janeiro, when his father was president of the Republic, Bolsonaro put Flávio in charge of the federal hospitals in Rio de Janeiro. Let me tell you something. Wherever Flávio gets involved, there's corruption, money laundering, bribery, and serious schemes. Everyone in Brasilia knows that. Wherever Flávio is involved, there's a scheme. And these schemes will come to light now. And oh, Tony de Paula. Former Bolsonaro supporter, a repentant Bolsonaro supporter. He's from Rio de Janeiro. And he also talked yesterday about what happened. Let's see what the former Bolsonaro supporters said about this whole situation. Pay attention here because we're going to look at this situation now. Before that, let me ask you a question. Have you already liked the live stream? No? When you like the live stream, YouTube recommends it to more people, and we need to reach more people. So I ask you, please like the live stream. It's very important. All right? Because if you don't like it, we won't reach anyone. And share, leave your comment, which is also very important. Let's see here. I think it's this one. If it's not, it'll be this one anyway. Why? Because here, guys, all hell is breaking loose. Pay attention.
A slap in the face to the Brazilian right wing. That's what Mr. Flávio Bolsonaro did to all of us. A slap! A slap in all our faces. Now I'm from Rio. I already knew this was going to blow up at some point. At some point. Because Flávio is a pickpocket. Because Flávio really does that. The guy stinks when it comes to sponsoring his father's movie. Almost 5 times more than what the secret agent cost. And almost 4 times more, 3 times more than what the movie I'm Still Here cost. He asked for 134 million and dropped 61 million just 30 more seconds, Mr. President. So let me just say something here. Do you know what they wanted to do? They wanted to use Dad's movie to launder money. They wanted to use Dad's movie for laundering. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what's happening with the right, not the real right. With Bolsonarism. Respect the right wing. Right wing, right wing. Bolsonarism, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, for the right to be respected. Like my grandmother used to say, my daughter, you have to stand up for your rights. You have to stand up for your rights because otherwise you won't get any respect.
You have to be respected and so on and so forth, but you have to respect yourself too. So what happens?
For the right to be respected, it has to respect itself. For the right to be respected, it has to respect itself first. And as long as the right keeps covering up for the far right and accepts sitting at the same table as the far right, the right is just a doormat for the Bolsonaros. And that's what's going to give Lula the win in the first round, because you on the right are doormats for the far right. You on the right need to have some shame, just like Ottoni de Paula did. Ottoni de Paula used to be a Bolsonaro supporter, but he saw what a mess Bolsonarism is, got out, and now he criticizes it harshly. And he's right-wing, he is right-wing. Today he harshly criticizes Bolsonarism. So you on the right, go back to the old ways. Be proud, be who you are. Because today you are nothing more, nothing less than vassals and little dogs who bark and lick the boots of the Bolsonaros and the far right. Do you know what the result will be? Lula in the first round. Do you want to know what I think? I think that's the least they deserve. But do you know what I call too little? That's the least they deserve. As Ottoni de Paula himself just said, Claudio Bolsonaro used his father's movie for money laundering to receive bribes. Wherever Flávio gets involved, there's a scheme. He is known in Rio de Janeiro and in Brasilia. If Flávio's involved, there's a scheme. And this guy wants to be president of Brazil. He never will be. Do you know what never means?